ride a train and I'm coming to meet you, and I'm coming in hard. Put a fist through your imagination, and I'm gonna leave scarred. Sick and tired of trying to get it right out busted.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back. This is Just One Beer, episode 7. I'm Justin.
I'm Pat.
What's up, Pat?
What's up, man?
Oh.
Episode 7.
Episode 7.
Roll that dice, baby. Lucky number 7.
That's right.
Hey, man, how about that song we just heard?
That intro you just heard was from our guest today, Jcrash.
Jcrashinthecar, baby. We talked a lot about you in the past couple podcasts.
Yeah, it's only appropriate that you're our first guest, so we're glad to have you. Welcome.
Thanks for having me today, guys. Excited to be here. I'm a big fan of your show, and
Hey, we're fans of
happy to be
yours.
the
You're
first
one
guest.
of our
I'm really
6
proud.
fans.
Thank you.
We're super pumped.
Yeah, 6. We're up to 6, man. That's an improvement. But hey, Jcrashinthecar. Obviously, we've talked a lot about you. We've already promoted kind of your YouTube page, but let us know what it is that you do in this world.
Man, thanks for the awesome introduction, guys. Really happy to be here. Jcrashinthecar is a concept I came up with several years ago. Decided to create my own YouTube channel. Aside from my professional life, I've always been a musician at heart. Spent a lot of time making music, making records, touring, trying to live the grind. Got tired of living broke. Got into the real world, quote unquote, but always.
But still have the passion and the creativity. That never dies.
Well, that's kind of why, for me,
And that's why the intro song was so awesome.
Well, yeah, and for me, that's why you're the perfect guest for our podcast, right? Because your passion for film and passion for music and passion for the arts far exceeds the corporate world, or quote unquote corporate world.
You know what? I haven't performed in a long time. Right now, it's more about my own creativity.
Perfect.
I'm putting out songs now more. I started my channel about 6 years ago. I've always been a fan of movies and a film fan. Took some courses when I finally got back into college after many years out on the music circuit. Just developed this secondary appreciation for film and how music is used in film, and the different composers, film composers and directors and screenwriters and all that kind of stuff.
I like
fascinated
that you said
me.
film composers and the people who do the score. Because
Right.
I really pick up on that. I actually looked up the symphony version of The Last Starfighter. Like the whole jingle to the movie.
Well, yeah, and I think one of the best guys when it comes to this stuff is like Danny Elfman.
Oh yeah, from Oingo Boingo.
From Oingo Boingo.
Yeah.
I mean, if you list the scores that he's produced, it's staggering. But let's get back to you, because that to me is important.
Back to school. I got a lot of Oingo Boingo.
So Jcrash, your main thing on YouTube is you.
Tell them about the top 200. That's
So right now you're doing a top 200, but your main thing is you review movies.
Well, I review movies. I guess you could say, I do like generic reviews of films, but I tend to focus in on films that I feel deserve credit because there may be forgotten gems. There may be films from even before we were born that cover concepts in a way that is still so relevant today. And
You're talking about the classics like Blazing Saddles.
Well, there you go. It's just that you can't understand the present without having an understanding of the past.
Yeah, I was thinking that people need a little history lesson these days.
And history is and I actually, have a background in history, education-wise, an appreciation for the films, but also getting into discussing the films on deeper levels. I think I like to do analyses of different types of movies. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I was talking to you before, and you actually mentioned like films having 3 different layers. And when we talked about that, I started like reviewing every film I'd ever watched in my head, going, "What were the 3 layers here?" Because they were there all along. I just needed that one little bit of nugget of information to like break it down more. It was
right.
cool.
Well, and I define a film as great films tend to have. We all have our guilty pleasure films that we think are just awesome films that some people look at us and go,
like Showgirls.
How do you like that? Yeah.
Debbie Does Dallas. I mean, that's my guilty pleasure film.
Everybody has those little closet pleasures.
I have some guilty pleasure films that are like super heartwarming than I've actually like shed a tear at them. But I don't know if I could even say that.
Let's dive deep into films a little bit later, but I gotta ask you, man, because we just heard this freaking song. So what are you? Are you Mr. Cinema? Are you rock and roll, baby? Like, which one are you? Are you both? Can you be
have to
both?
pick
Like
one.
No, you don't have. Well,
That's how
in
you
my
phrase
world,
it.
you have to pick one.
black and white.
Everyone knows that. So Jcrash, rock and roll or cinema, baby? Which one?
That's a great question, and I haven't really been posed that question in that way.
Okay, let's put it this way. Let's put it
Okay,
in
let's
like
put it
very
this way.
layman
Let's go,
terms.
let's go.
Would you rather play and sing your favorite song or watch your favorite movie?
Well, the movie encompasses visuals and sound, so you probably would choose
Yeah, but
the movie, right?
I don't know.
think it
I don't
depends on
think
my
so.
day. I consider myself an artist, even though, I do things more for me now. I don't do them to for anything else.
But
I'm
that's why
sharing
you're
that.
a true artist, right?
Yeah,
That's what
you
the
know.
true artists in history have ever done.
Well, and it's hard as an artist to bring the same level every day for different things. I tend to go on benders. I go on a music bender. If I'm making a song or if I'm creating something, I'm focused on that song, and that's all I want to do. And I listen, I mix it, I play different tracks, I hammer it out, and that's the vein. And after I create something like that, it's like I blow my load. I'm done. So I just want to sit back on the couch and watch a good film.
So you're saying you blow your load on films.
Sometimes it's the opposite, and then it's like I got to get back to
Yeah.
music because I'm
Yeah.
watching too many movies, and sometimes I'm watching shitty movies, and it's not like I sit around watching movies all the time. I have a life and things to do,
No,
but
we
But
get
you've been
that.
doing it for so many years. That's how you're able to amass the numbers and the knowledge.
yeah, well, and I've gone back to that point. I've gone back many films in the past and studied those, and just I've always been.
What do you think about? And I'm sorry to interrupt you, but just the childhood movies, the ones that bring you back and suck you back to a time in life when you're like, oh, this was at grandma's house. We used to watch this movie, or this was the first place I saw a scary movie. Because I have a couple of those, and I could watch those movies endlessly, and they never get old.
Absolutely, and I mean, I'm like you guys mentioned, I'm doing a top 200 films of all time, and that it's a very encompassing list. It encompasses a lot of genres. There's art films in there.
If you're
there's
even the slight bit interested
sci-fi.
in movies, you are introduced to a lot of. Thank you. I thank you for introducing. That's good to have friends that can introduce you if you have a creative mindset, just different things in the arts.
Well,
It's
when you go
awesome.
out to make a list like that, I mean, you can look on things like the American Film Institute and their top 200
You
movies.
didn't just Google top 200 of
No,
all
you're
time
gonna-
and call it a day, or what?
You're going to see that argument on a lot of those films. Like you're going to see the Citizen Kanes, the Chaplin films,
Yeah.
which I respect, and I do like Citizen Kane a lot. It took me a long time to really develop an appreciation for that film, but some of the films that are coming even later in my list, and I make this disclaimer in my top 200, is that these are films that encompass a lot, not only just artistic quality, longevity, lasting power, but they also are films that are dear to me. And to that point, I mean, you talk about childhood movies. I'm a child of the 80s. I grew up with films like Goonies and E.T.
We just watched that as a family this last
I
weekend.
mean, everybody
What's not to like
pretty much
about
I
it?
know loves fucking Goonies. It's a classic.
Yeah,
It's
it is a childhood classic.
So while we have
40-year-olds.
while we have you here,
Jcrash, let's do like Patty's top 5.
no, I don't want my top 5. I want to ask him a specific question about a fucking movie.
All right, but
dude.
we should do like do you have a top 5 in your head?
I do have a top 5.
Okay, I have a top 5. So
Okay.
after you ask your dumb question, I want to hear Jcrash's take on like our 5 movies.
Hey,
All right, go.
All right.
You little
So
fucking bitch.
listen, man.
I'm gonna go get another LaCroix.
Jcrash, I watched Bohemian Rhapsody the other day. I have to get your opinion on it, because for me, you being a movie critic and a musician, and Freddie Mercury being who he was, and the movie being what it was, and so artsy, and I have to get your opinion on it.
I like the movie. I actually saw it a couple months ago. I appreciated it. I've always been a Queen fan. I grew up a Queen fan. And interesting little side story here before I start getting into the film. My uncle growing up was gay, and I didn't really come to know it till I was about 16 years old, and I found out that he had AIDS. And so it was a huge blow to the family. He ended up dying at age like 35
From AIDS.
from
That's
AIDS.
back when, like, if you were HIV positive, you were like death.
It was a
sentence.
death sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this was
anymore.
right in the mid 80s. This is when it was all going down. He was a big shot attorney up in LA, defense attorney, drove a cool fucking convertible, always cruised me around. I never questioned his sexuality, and he just turned me on to so much great music, and so much of who I am today as a musician, and my tastes of music are come from my uncle.
Wow.
But he was a huge Queen fan, turns out.
Yeah.
Right. And so
Is the reason he was a huge Queen fan because him and Freddie were a couple?
I don't know that they were a couple, but let's say they were at that height where it was just complete debauchery.
Yeah, it's complete.
You know,
Complete butt sex anarchy.
Well, Freddie Mercury is pretty careless and ruthless and kind of. I kind of almost watched that film and I got the impression that I don't know that he even thought knew he was gay until he was gay. Does that make sense? Like, because he was in love with that woman, I
Right.
think, or in love with the idea of that woman,
Right.
until I mean, obviously a penis came flying into his face and he
Dude, I've talked.
embraced it.
you know. So my little preface there in saying that I grew up with a gay uncle who experienced that life and a tragic end, just like many of those people of that time.
Were you there, like, during his death?
I was.
Kind of like, was it
I
pretty
was.
brutal?
It was
'Cause
terrible.
You've seen the movie Philadelphia,
Yes,
and
my uncle loved that movie too.
really.
And it was right about the time
Yeah, that was a
he
very
yeah
not controversial. but,
Denzel
like, talked about
Washington
movie.
and Tom Hanks, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
but they kind of showed the
The process
brutalness
of dying.
dying
Yeah.
through that.
That's not like a leave you with feel goods after the movie's over.
No,
Like
but
Butterfly
it,
Effect.
it all depends on what you take out of it, right? 'Cause like some people could
Well,
take different. Like,
But it
what-
was a very important film because it gave
You're saying Philadelphia.
Philadelphia was a very important film because it gave awareness to the legal
Yes,
issues that came about, and it heightened a lot of awareness about the real epidemic that was happening at the time.
So dive into Bohemian Rhapsody because
Well, you know-
that's really I want to get your take. I mean,
Of course.
like it or not, I don't know. I personally loved it. I thought
I've
it was
heard-
intense.
I've heard reviews about it, and I think we might agree on some of the points in it.
Have you seen it, Justin?
I haven't seen it. I've watched like people talk about it because I want to get a little bit of a. For
I
some
like
movies,
the
I want to get a
film.
little bit of a know what I'm going into.
I like the film, and of course I prefaced it by giving my experience with Queen. And while I certainly appreciate the Freddie Mercury story, I felt that the film focused too much in on Freddie Mercury's sexuality. It made it, and while that is certainly a hot button topic right now in our society. I mean, it's very relevant. I feel like that the filmmakers took the opportunity to make more of a political statement on using Queen as the vehicle. I didn't really feel completely comfortable with it.
Like
But
they should have called it Freddie Mercury's
Now that
gay instead of like Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah, but it's part of the whole programming thing, you know.
And that's not to say that there weren't really good moments. Queen was comprised of 4 members, great members that had very broad musical talent and very broad genre that they brought together and formed this incredible sound. And of course, Freddie Mercury, he was a genius, whether he was gay or not. I mean, it really did.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what you do behind closed doors.
We don't need to know that
Yeah.
Freddie Mercury, he was great because he was gay. Or this was he was this, and while that makes for interesting drama to me, I couldn't completely give myself over to the film. Now, doesn't mean I didn't like the film. I think there was stuff in the film when they rebelled. They had the big argument in the office of the music exec. They threw the rock through his door. I think that was awesome. I loved seeing him in the studio, footage was
Yeah.
while they were collaborating and doing the vocal harmonies,
Yeah.
and you know, and the guy's like, we're running out of tracks.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have enough tracks to put all these vocals in. That stuff I loved, but I felt like the film got a little too politically driven.
I get what you're saying. You
Sort of
kinda,
like it's sort of like an icing on all the cakes, you know.
It's not to say I like a film with a message. And
Yeah, but not one that's drilled down your head 24/7 in every media aspect or form that there
And I-
can be, like the Marvel films and the new Terminator.
Yeah, well,
I watched a preview and it's just
Everything's
a bunch
going
of chicks
woke.
kicking a dude's ass. I'm like, come on, you know, like
And I thought that the lead actor Rami Malek.
are those his real teeth?
no,
No.
they probably put something. I know, right?
But I enjoyed the movie. I didn't think it was great, but then he won the Academy Award for it.
Okay. Well,
Best Actor Award, and I can't say he was undeserving. I thought he did a good job.
well, let me move on to another kind of popular film of the recent memory, and that's A Star Is Born. And the only reason I'm asking you about these two is I personally really like both of them, and they're very musically driven.
Right, yeah, great films
So
that you
that's
bring
kind of
up,
what
yeah.
I'm asking you. What do you think about Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga? I personally love Lady Gaga. I
Yeah.
would love to do.
She's a weirdo, but she's got a nice voice.
I would do things to her that would just make people say Gaga.
You want to know what?
man.
Let me let
Like,
all the women in on a little secret. It doesn't matter how crazy you are. We recognize that some of them are pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But we can just easily move that aside, like pushing something over on the counter, and then focus on how hot you are.
I mean,
or what your voice sounds like.
boobs make up for all the craziness in the world. Like I'm going to tell you right now, off subject, but Miley Cyrus has been doing something to me lately that's just driving me. I subscribe to her Instagram page,
Yeah.
and today she was in there dancing like
fucking crazy
half
too.
titty out. Like, oh, is she crazy?
Yeah,
Her
she's-
dad's fucking Billy Ray Cyrus. Of course she's crazy.
No, I mean, like, she's got nothing in between her ears.
I love it. That is the perfect woman.
Oh,
Sorry,
she's
smart
on,
women.
She's on on the new Black Mirror episode, or one of the Black Mirror episodes in the new season. She's in the last one. It's actually pretty interesting. If you're into like Black Mirror, I was going to ask you if you'd seen it, because it's kind of like Twilight Zone for a new generation. But
I definitely want to get your take on Star Is Born. How do you feel that film, although it was, the third or fourth rendition?
Yeah.
What do you think the modern day rendition was like? Because I really felt a connection between the two stars.
Well,
Pretty sure they banged
they
in real
boned.
life.
They boned.
they've been linked with a lot of activity. Let's
Yes.
say that. Yeah.
Wait, what'd you say?
They've been linked with a lot of activity.
And all of a sudden, one of them's not dating their significant other. I know that.
I don't know. Sometimes I watch films and I'm like, there's no way they didn't bang off camera.
But A Star Is Born. Hit it, brother.
Yeah. You know what? I did see Stars Born, and I saw the Chris Christopherson, Barbra Streisand version a while back, and it was in that country artist vein. Of course, Chris Christopherson was a
Very
huge
much
country
country,
artist
yeah.
at that time. And Barbra Streisand was arguably the Lady Gaga of that time. Barbra Streisand was huge. I heard they were making it again, and Bradley Cooper, of course, he directed the film actually and starred in it. I watched it, and I thought I will say that I thought that Lady Gaga was very good acting wise. I thought they had a really good chemistry together, and I think that Bradley Cooper played his part well. But not only was the film, the third remake, but I felt like the Bradley Cooper character was really just a knockoff of the Jeff Bridges character in Crazy Heart. And I don't know if you've seen the film Crazy Heart, but to me, that is a great American film.
It really
It's
is.
a 10 out of 10 in my opinion.
Wow.
I
And-
think a 10 out of 10 from someone who's watched as many movies.
How
as
many
you've
movies have you watched?
It.
Right now, I'm at 1,734.
That's definitely more than I've watched.
And
I can count
many
maybe
of them I've
500.
seen multiple times. I mean, depending on what I feel is the
what
quality.
is multiple times?
Like 4 or 5.
Upwards of anywhere from 2 to 20.
Wow.
Oh,
Name a
shit.
film
That's a
you've watched
huge- that's a
20 times.
huge range.
20 times The Wild Bunch.
So does that mean that's one of your favorite films?
Yes. Rebel Without a Cause.
With James Dean?
Yeah. It's one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah.
Taxi Driver. Yeah. That
Who's in
one's
Taxi Driver?
Robert De Niro.
Sybil
You've never seen
Shepherd.
Taxi Driver, man?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That whole part where like he meets her at the restaurant, he just seems like a psycho, and he managed to get this babe in there.
Well,
The power of fucking.
No, so back on Star is Born. I think that the Jeff Bridges character in Crazy Heart, I think he was the kind of fading country artist, and she came in. They used the formula, so I just think it was an unoriginal film.
they kind of looked very similar, and they kind of sounded very similar, and they kind of smoked and drank very similar. So I'm 100% on board with you on that. I never really put the two and two together until you're sitting in front of me talking about it.
Yeah, but
now that you are, that's a crazy comparison.
Well, and you probably have realized this, but you don't even know it because you're a huge fan of Point Break. I know this because you and I discovered it together. And when the new Point Break came out, you're like, fuck this.
Fuck Point Break.
So
too.
that's the thing I'm saying is,
I didn't even watch the new.
no, there's
I
another
won't.
Total Recall.
Nor will I watch the new Karate Kid.
Have they made a new RoboCop yet? Because I'm sure if not, they'll butcher
They
that.
have.
Oh, okay. Well,
Well,
fuck.
let-
See, what am I?
Yeah.
Let's get back to A Star Is Born
No originality
and
man.
Crazy Heart, because
Yeah.
I would venture to guess, and I'd be so interested to find out. I bet you Bradley Cooper is a huge fan of Jeff Bridges
course.
and a huge fan of that film.
could you not be?
Of course
Right.
he is. I mean, and the thing was when, Jeff Bridges has done so much in his career.
He's
I
the
mean,
man.
and people, he's best known for Big Lebowski.
You think so?
I think so because
Okay.
it's such a huge cult film.
Yeah.
I think
It's a great film.
it is. I like Big
Yeah.
Lebowski. You're not
Yeah.
going to find it on my list. I appreciate it. I like the
Well,
Coen brothers,
you're-
but I like certain Coen brothers films. I love.
So you're saying
and
out
others.
of, you're saying out of your top 200, you're not going to put the Big Lebowski?
it's not going to be on there.
Okay.
but I like it.
Fair enough. But okay, let me ask you this.
It's 200 out of 1,700.
I get
Yes.
that. Let me ask you this. So are you being as artsy as you are you all about the artsy films, the musical films? Are you good with spoof films and
Oh, you're gonna say, like,
and teen coming of age films?
Fast Times at Ridgemont
Well,
High.
for sure. Fast Times at
Superbad.
Ridgemont. I mean,
I
you
love
know.
Fast Times at
Okay,
at
does
Ridgemont
that
High.
make your
I
list?
do. It's not on my list.
Wow.
But look. The thing is, when you're narrowing down 200 films,
Do you have a film like that on your list that you can share with us?
Yes. In fact, The Breakfast Club is on my list.
Perfect. That's same
Okay.
thing. That's exactly what I'm getting
Yeah,
at.
it's in the upper 170s probably, but
Is Animal House on that list?
no.
Wow.
But I like Animal House.
See, I think he likes it, but he's pulling the slapstick out. It's kind of like you're not gonna have Hot Shots
But
Part
why,
2
you
on
know
the
what?
list.
But
He's
why
a-
pull the slapstick
here's-
out? That's artistic
Here's
just
the
as,
thing,
as much
though.
as the others.
Here's the thing: you'll find The Jerk on my list. I love The
I
Jerk.
love
That's
with
awesome,
okay
dude. Yeah.
with
So I have to make a
with
choice.
Steve Martin.
Yeah,
Yeah,
You have to
when
make a
you're
choice between
reading
that
down
and
a
comedy.
I got
list
you.
like that,
No,
you
I
have to
got
make
you.
a
I
choice.
got you. Your list is your list, man. There's
but
nothing wrong
which
with it.
John Hughes film? I can't include all of John Hughes's great films. The guy was a master of the teenage film. Nobody has touched him today,
No way.
and arguably in the past.
Yeah.
Nobody has touched what John Hughes did. He was behind Some Kind of Wonderful.
I was just gonna say I watched that with my son, and he's like, "Can we watch that movie
excellent
again?"
film. It's not on my list.
I love
But
the
it's not on my.
message.
It's not on my
Is
list.
She's All That on your top 200?
It is not all that.
Yeah, right there with the Britney Spears movie.
well,
What's that one?
your top
What's your
200
favorite
just lost
movie?
all credibility in my
But
eyes.
no.
Wait,
You
we gotta
asked me
hear
about
Pat's
coming
top 5.
Coming of age films
I
and
mean,
spoof films and
Stand by Me.
Oh, that's
It-
great.
And you're gonna find that in my top 100.
That's a great-
probably,
Is that right?
probably around. I can't remember off the top of my head, but probably in around the 60s.
Wow.
So listen, guys.
Epic film.
What he is doing is some cool stuff, like top 200 type of stuff. Like I'm a big list guy. Of course I am, because I'm a Justin calls and I'm a black and white type of guy. It's it's a you want this or you want that and that's it type of thing. But you got to check this guy
That's an
out.
efficient way
Jcrash in
to
the
break
car.
it down. Yeah, Jcrash in the car.
Jcrash in the car on YouTube. He's doing
Well,
a top 200.
After that intro, come on, I mean, you want to hear more.
Thanks.
But so do you have anything else on A Star Is Born? So you're kind of like on the film.
I would highly. I was kind of
Okay.
I was disappointed, but I will say,
just like to be entertained, and for those people, certain movies are perfectly.
I know.
fine.
I know people who were weeping over that film.
well, for sure. But that's the
and,
beauty of.
and I just
Are
I
you related to him?
But that's the beauty. That's the beauty of film, man. Like it'll
know, dude,
touch
movies-
people different ways. Like
That's fine.
You like this band? What's this band you like with the women's in it?
War Paint.
Yeah, to me they're garbage. They're horrible, and you love them.
No, but I mean, I
I'm
think
there
garbage is a
because-
little bit of a.
I heard them, and they are garbage. dude.
Which song did you hear?
Well, exactly. But you just said you just called a bunch of
Fucking
movies
idiot.
garbage that aren't garbage.
What movie did I call garbage?
You basically said the movie we were just talking about is garbage.
Which movie was that? I've already forgotten.
A Star Is Born.
I've never even seen it. I
Well,
didn't say it
that's
was
right.
Garbage.
So shut your mouth.
Dude, Pat,
With
I
War
was just
Paint.
expanding my whole musical.
War Paint
My
sucks,
whole
dude.
musical.
I don't think they suck.
They're pretty bad.
But I-
Yeah, no, I don't listen
But
to
I
them
like
anymore.
some of the tracks.
Well, if you don't
I like
listen
it
to
for
them
a
anymore,
while.
how would you like them? Like, dude.
Well, because they hold a special place in my heart because I fucking.
Okay, so that's what film does to other people. That's what I'm saying is like,
I like them. Yeah, I don't listen to them every fucking time I get in the car. You can't do that with any music, dude. You just can't do it. Like, there's times when I like certain
but you
music
can't
and
listen to
stuff.
some music any of the time.
Look, I'm gonna
like
hey,
War Paint.
hey,
I can't listen to them one fucking second of the day because they fucking garbage.
I'm just watching the show here.
I mean, this fucking guy's unbelievable.
Okay. So
tonight.
Pat, tell me some music you like so that I can tell you whether or not it's garbage.
You
or
will
not.
never say my music's garbage because
I know because I'm not that
good.
fucking close-minded. I'm
No,
fucking
because-
open-minded.
Listen, when I put on
Am I
fucking
open-minded?
when I put
Am I
on
open-minded?
War Paint, I
get
totally
it.
was
It's-
like, dude, loves these guys. I want to love these guys. It's gonna be fucking awesome.
Hey, it's-
and then I turned it on and it was like, these girls fucking suck my
Okay.
nuts.
All right,
dude.
I
listen,
think
I'm
you
gonna-
turned the
I'm gonna-
volume up on.
I'm gonna liken that, like what you guys are talking about, to a film. Like, let's say if you sat down, if I told you, Pat, you gotta watch.
Or like make
Michael,
him,
with,
make him watch A Streetcar Named Desire
Yeah.
with Marlon Brando.
Love that film.
Fuck you, you
Okay.
fucking idiot.
I
You
love that
you've
film.
never even seen it.
Fucking
Shut
love
up.
that film.
Shut up.
But if something about art or film or music that sometimes it requires you to be in a certain headspace when you have an initial introduction to it.
right.
I've watched a film. If I'm not there, I could sit down. I could be hyped because I hear about this movie. Oh, you got to see this movie. You got to do. And I put it on. I'm like, fuck, I can't get into it, and I just turn it off. Or somebody
So you do
sends me a
that
bang.
as a movie reviewer. So you're no different than the human.
No.
Like than any of us because I do
It's
that
a
same thing.
headspace
Yeah,
that we
yeah.
have to be in sometimes, and
Yep.
and it has to jive with our moment that we hear it. If we're not feeling it there, we're just not gonna like it. But if sometimes we maybe can go back to something and we're in a different frame of mind depending on what's going on in our day or in our life, and
Yep.
we hear
Yeah.
and we hear something, you might all of a sudden see the light. That's why I go back to a lot of films and I talked about Citizen Kane earlier.
Yeah.
It was one of those films that everybody says, "Oh, Citizen Kane's the greatest movie ever made." You know, and you go, "Oh, it's the greatest movie ever made." You watch the movie, you're like, "What is so fucking great about that movie?"
So I'm
yeah.
taking it. Citizens Kane's not going to be your top 200.
It's in there.
Oh, I'm
It's in
sure,
there.
but it's not going to be your number
No,
one.
it's not in my top 100. Let's say that.
Revenge of the Nerds is going to be your number one.
Hey, we'll talk about. Yeah, that one's funny, dude. That one's funny. just
Pan
for,
down, pan down.
That was funny
We've
for just
got Bush.
how, like
We've
not,
got Bush.
so not politically correct in
Oh my
so
God.
many
I
ways.
love shit.
I
Just
love
like
Revenge of the
lazy.
Nerds.
Yeah.
Every part of that
fucking
movie is
great.
not politically correct. Are
I love
you
it.
kidding me? It's one of the greatest movies in the history of the world. If I was doing my top 1,000, that would be number one. Fuck it. Revenge of the Nerds, number one. You've heard it here
Dude,
first.
the intro
Just
song,
one
when I
beer.
listen to the intro to that thing, it just rings in my head for like 48 hours.
How about the song like, "Are you ready for the sex, girls?"
I thought you were talking about Lambda, and Omega Mu. We got
Point
Dexter on the violin. We got Takashi and Gilbert joining in.
How about when they're on the last or one of the last competitions, and it's the
tricycle
Asian
one's
guy
the
on the
best.
trike, and the Japanese music is playing.
dude.
Yeah.
You can't do that to
He's riding around, and they give him the
Give him
injection.
the trichloromethyline.
Yeah, that's right. This won't get you
This
drunk.
covers all effects of alcohol in your system, but he's wasted.
Well, yeah, 'cause
you guys
I'm
are
feeling
super
Tekashi
fans.
fucking great.
Oh, I feel fucking great.
So
I love.
Oh, what the fuck is a frush?
So fucking fresh. Hey,
Yeah.
When you were saying like I'm getting out of Revenge of the Nerds because I could go on and on about it, especially the part when he goes panty raid and he's little.
it's like you asked me if I like Animal House. Of course, I like Animal House.
I mean, Animal House has
of
got to be.
course.
I mean, for me, and this means nothing because I mean I know nothing.
It's like
but
saying of all the sexual positions, do you like missionary? Well, yeah, I like it, but it's not my first choice.
you know what? That's probably your smartest analogy you've had
you.
on
No,
just one
I
beer.
spit 'em every
7
time.
episodes.
Shut
No,
up.
you've had great ones. I'm not knocking you. I'm saying that you've had very
sorry.
good
I
ones, and
jumped
that's
to
why I'm saying this.
Sorry.
That
I
was a
got two.
very, very, very good analogy. Like when I
already
talk
forgotten what I
and I
said.
say something, I love how you kick in with your analogies. But that, my friend,
You want to know why
was
analogies
fucking
work?
genius.
Because it helps people who. I'm just bringing the thought process to like a more remedial level, and that doesn't sound. Does that sound condescending? Maybe
No,
it does, but
you're good,
I like
man.
to put things into analogies because it's how you can like greater connect with somebody. Sorry.
Well, let me ask you this, Jcrash. You obviously are a film reviewer, but I want to talk about your music, man. Like, do you think you are rock and roll? Do you think you're punk rock? Do you think you're what is your genre, if any? You don't have to answer me. You can say, hey, man, I'm a fucking artist. I'm not any genre. I personally think I have you tabbed as a genre, and we could talk about that. But
Okay.
for me, you're either punk rock, you're rap, or you're heavy metal, or you're none of them. You're just an artist. What do you tab yourself as?
I guess some of the stuff I'm making lately has been mostly blues driven. It's interesting because I think a lot of my roots are basically in rock and roll and blues. The last single I put out was more of an electronica kind of dance thing with some
Interesting.
guitars underneath it.
I believe
Synth-driven.
the name of the song was Map to the Stars. or
Yeah,
Map-
Map to the Stars.
Yeah, check that out on Jcrash.
Dude,
Jcrashinthecar.
The video is very cool. Check it out.
Right.
It was awesome.
It's pretty badass. But let me get to the meat and potatoes of my question.
Yeah.
Do you think, because we're both, you, me, all three of us are kind of products of the 90s, I would guess, and that's kind of what JOB is about. Just One Beer is about the 90s. And that's kind of when punk music really hit its mainframe. Do you think, in your opinion, as a critic and as a musician, that punk rock is dead today?
Wow. That's a heavy question. And it's a great question. I don't think the spirit of punk rock is dead, but I think the term punk means a lot of different things. I think that the term punk is very diverse, and there's a lot of different styles and genre. I mean, punk to me is more of an attitude, and the 90s saw punk rock really take the mainstream. Blink 182 hit it off.
Bad Religion.
Yeah, Bad Religion.
I mean,
but you got to
Bad-
remember, Bad Religion was doing it. I mean, I think their early EPs were from like 1980.
Yeah, but
Dude, my
goddamn,
punk-
were they punk or not? I mean,
Well, of course
21st
they were
century digital, oh boy.
Well, that was when you got to think about that time when you're bringing up 21st century digital, boy. That was when Bad Religion went to, I believe it was Warner Brothers. So that album was their big
So their big punk
label.
album wasn't so
That
punk.
was
going
their
mainstream.
big label
Yeah.
release, and I love that album. Stranger Than
Yeah.
Fiction is a fucking awesome
Yeah.
album.
Dude, my
They're good.
punk rock album is Megadeth, dude.
No, that's heavy metal. But
No, not.
Well,
not,
I mean,
not
Megadeth
Hangar
could be
8
arguably punk
Hangar 18
because of the
dude.
attitude.
No, you got to listen to the lyrics in it. They're very much like they talk a lot about religion and like warmongering and stuff like that, or
Yeah.
the military industrial
Dave Mustaine
complex.
is a very, very intelligent man.
Oh,
Let me
yeah.
tell you that.
I mean,
there's no
did you-
question he was going to be able to start his own band when he left Metallica.
Did
And
you gain
he's
influence from the punk bands? I mean, is that
Yeah,
where did you
absolutely.
gain your influence?
My influence, I think when I started playing music, it was like my friends and I just started. Let's make a band. Well, who's gonna play what instrument? So we all drew sticks or some shit, and I ended up with the drums.
That's badass that you knew
so you
three
st-
other or two or three or whatever dudes, and then you
Yeah.
all were like, let's just
Yeah,
fucking
I mean,
do
we
it.
Because
were
I'm
like-
not drawing anything for
We were
any
like
instrument.
seventh. We were
Rad.
seventh grade. Seventh grade. We drew sticks, and which was great because I wanted to play drums. I started taking lessons, did that whole thing, and we used to skate. We were riding skateboards. I mean, this was sixth, seventh grade for me. This was a really young age, and one of my best friends, his older brother, was a professional skater, and he was about 6 years older than us, and he skated for Alva.
Alva.
Yeah,
Let's
Alva
go,
skates. Now, the Alva boys, if you know anything about Southern California skateboarding, you know who Tony Alva is. He was one of the forerunners of skateboarding. And the Alva boys developed this sort of bad boy image. They all had dreads. They all were leather jackets, and they listened to punk rock. And they listened to all this awesome music that they introduced us to. So we wanted to form a punk band, and we were just like getting in there, banging on the skins. And,
So the punk sound is like a real fast, like 1-2 beat, right?
yeah, all the snares are on the andas, 1 and a 2 and 2.
Yeah.
But I think punk though is more about the lyrics, right? They fuck the
Yeah, it
establishment,
was fuck the government,
man, yeah.
fuck the
Well, it's just
establishment.
fuck your
It's just a loud,
parents.
it's an in-your-face sound.
I mean, I would consider Beastie Boys punk rock.
I think, yes, they have a place in punk
right?
rock. I
For
mean,
sure,
I
yeah.
was
What?
never
It's
really a
fucking-
fan,
you
but
think
yes.
that's punk rock.
Yeah, they talked about jerking off and
Fucking
hating
rap.
their
It's
parents.
hip hop
dude.
rap shit, dude. It's like early.
It is
hip
hip
hop
hop rap, but you got to remember who was the backing band for Beastie Boys. Slayer. Okay,
Is that right?
Yeah,
I didn't know
Slayer
that.
played all the back for "Fight for Your Right to Party." That's all Slayer.
Are you kidding me? I did not know that.
yeah,
That
that's
is
Slayer.
super interesting.
Yeah, that's
now,
all
now
Slayer.
that you said that,
Yeah.
the dots will get connected.
So I mean,
If you
they
listen to Slayer.
contacted Slayer and were like, "Hey, can you guys
Yeah.
fucking
Well,
collaborate?"
I
with us?
remember-
So that's
I
pretty
remem-
punk rock right there.
I remember in the 90s, like even NWA would collaborate with Metallica or Megadeth or
Dude, I like-
Aerosmith and Run DMC. Like it was all about
There-
the cross
there's a-
collaboration. You don't see that today.
Well,
Back
you do
then-
actually. I don't know if you
You
kept
do.
up with the story but we're speaking of punk. Did you know that? I believe it was Lil Wayne was on tour with Blink 182.
Get the fuck out of here.
And he actually just left the tour.
Yeah, but why isn't that popular?
He just quit like six weeks into the tour. He quit.
why isn't that popular? Why isn't that
It
in the
wasn't.
mainstream?
That was the problem.
That is what I'm
It
saying.
wasn't. The two genres didn't blend, and I guess Lil Wayne said, "This isn't my deal," and he quit.
Little Wayne gets with Blink 182 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Little Wayne's like 5 musicians down in the lineup.
Mm-hmm.
He's not even a thought.
Well, and it's like Blink 182's doing shit. I personally like Angels and Airwaves, which is Tom DeLonge's new group. And I
Yes.
don't know if you've heard the new Angels and Airwaves stuff, but I think it's awesome. I'm not like super fan. I was never
Dude,
really a big fan
Tom
of Blink.
DeLonge's like a big UFO dude too.
He is.
Well, let me
Yeah.
ask you this, and I pose this to
Angels and Airwaves have some really good stuff. That I dig it.
All right. Well, is it still like following in suit with like the punk rock of what they used to do?
It is. It's more evolved. It's got synths. It's got like really cool those riffs, those hooks, those guitar hooks, and it's got his voice. His voice tends to grate on me a little while after a little while.
Yeah.
But I think the stuff he's doing with Angels and Airwaves right now, and the other two, Travis Barker and whatever the other guy's name is, I can't remember. But they're
I'll have to check it out.
yeah, they're doing the Lil Wayne thing right now, and,
Hey,
and
dude.
they've had this collaboration with this DJ guy from Vegas. I don't know if you saw
That seems all very
It's-
forced and very fake and very
sucks.
stupid.
No,
So-
dude. Here's the.
I'm
not
the
about
90s
that.
collab I got. It's Anthrax and Public Enemy.
Oh,
Bring the
yeah,
Noise.
yeah.
That song
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
Yeah.
awesome.
Well,
dude.
Yeah.
that
I mean,
was
for me,
real.
that
That
time
was
back-
real
Totally.
shit. That
It
was.
was.
But it was like
I
a
mean-
complete blend of like the metal and,
And
the
that's
rap
when
and
shit
the
was
rap.
going bad back then. That wasn't when it was like
Well,
the
it just
greatest
showed- it just
times in
showed that
America.
You could merge the two completely different
Because for me,
groups and
music is music,
something
and it
cool comes out of it.
music brings everybody together. It's like sports,
that's
right?
the message,
There's
pretty
like when it comes to racism and that kind of stuff. There's a couple places in this world where it doesn't come into play, and one of them sports. That's one of the biggest
Sports
ones,
and
right?
music events.
Sports and music, like
or yeah, any sort of
because I
sports,
think
right? Like golf,
I think James
motor-
Hetfield of Metallica appreciates LL Cool J the same way
course.
as Cool J appreciates James Hetfield.
I'm sure.
But
right?
yeah, if you're artistic, you can't deny the fact that you appreciate the aspect of their efforts.
Of course.
Let me ask you this.
Doesn't mean
and
you have to like be in love with it, but
Right.
it means that you
can appreciate
accept the
it.
fact that they put their heart and soul
Yeah,
into something.
exactly.
Put themselves out
Yep.
there.
Absolutely.
Which is what you do. Which is what just
Yeah,
one beer does.
That's right. Like if 3 people listen to you, which I know on your movie reviews, you get tens of thousands of people watching, which is awesome. But
This is the interesting thing in it. Of course, we're in Southern California. But Southern California, next to, let's say, London, okay, was the biggest driving force behind punk rock.
yeah,
Okay, you had the early London movement. Okay, you had the movement of the Sex Pistols.
Sex Pistols. I was just gonna.
You
I
had
was thinking
Iggy Pop and oh gosh, his band. I can't remember the name of Iggy Pop's band, but you had Iggy Pop. You had the Sex Pistols. You had this London movement. Talking Heads were a part of that. If you listen to like Nevermind the Bollocks today, I have that album in my collection, and every now and then I put that shit on, and that shit blows my fucking socks off, man.
It's awesome to revisit music that you listened to before and how you
You
can have an
listen-
even greater appreciation for
you
it
listen to the fury
again.
of Johnny Rotten, the fucking
Didn't
guitar
one of them
player.
go on and start the band Public Image?
Yeah,
Limited?
that was Johnny
Johnny
Rotten,
Rotten, right?
who went. Then he left the Johnny Rotten name and went under his regular name, which was John Linden.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and
My-
he did Public Image Limited. PIL.
I remember my
Yeah.
brother had some CDs because back
PIL's a
when I
good
was
band.
younger, CDs were the
Yeah.
thing, and I'd be like, "I'm gonna steal this CD,"
Mm-hmm.
and he had Public Image Limited (PIL) in his
Yeah.
thing, and I listened to it, and I've heard it in some like older movies, but I
Mm-hmm.
like their sound. You know,
I'm not going to disparage the music that I grew up with because when, like I said, I used to was running with these Alva boys, or we were wannabe Alva boys. Never really all that great at skating, but I did learn how to play drums all right. So
dude, I was fucking BMX, fucking pro.
yeah,
dude.
yeah.
Fucking-
So, but I used to run with these guys, and I think the first few bands that I heard was definitely the early, like Pat was saying, the early Bad Religion stuff. I was listening.
What about Social Distortion? Is that like a little before our time, or
Mike Ness has been around,
been
for,
around
a long
time, but
a long time. He's had a solo career. He's gone on with, done the Social Distortion, multiple albums with them. They were
Yeah.
bringing Social Distortion into the mainstream, but the early punk shit I listened to Sex Pistols, Adolescence, Circle Jerks,
Circle Jerks.
Fear.
I've been to a Circle Jerks concert.
Yeah, you were telling me before we were on air
Yeah,
that
one of my
you
friends,
went to a
one
Circle
of my friends is
Jerks
kind of a
show.
punk
That's
rocker.
awesome.
Like he and I both like Suicidal Tendencies, which was
Yeah.
like for me,
Was that a Circle
was like-
Jerks concert or event?
it was the fucking concert. No, Pat, I won't go to a Circle Jerk party with you, even if you say "pretty please" with the cherry on top. No, but so my friend, we both like Suicidal Tendencies and some other bands. He's like, "Hey, let's go see Circle Jerks," and he introduced me to a couple songs. And we went to the concert. It was at but
Soma?
No.
Oh, Soma. You're
House of
talking
Blues.
House of Blues.
House of
Hey,
Blues. Yeah.
let's touch on Soma for a minute because
Yeah.
Soma was
San Diego.
Soma was San Diego, but Soma was so punk rock, and it was there was no booze sold there, so you only had to be 16 to get in.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where all the big punk bands would show up. You
Yeah,
know,
so we'll-
10-foot
that's where
pole
my,
and
first
Unwritten
band-
Law, all that kind of.
Yeah.
Oh, you played there?
Oh, many times.
Okay.
Yeah,
Didn't,
one of the big things we did was we opened for the Plimsolls once, and they
Soma was a big event.
Yeah.
Soma
Yeah.
was a big deal. So if
Yeah.
you open there, that's a big deal, man.
He fucking played in. Did you play at Canes?
I play it all over.
You played
this
at
place.
Canes.
Yeah,
you
but-
played in Oceanside somewhere.
Yeah. So
Dude,
so
well,
people, here's the deal. Lest you think Jay Crash in the
That
Car
sounds
is
kinda
just some
gay. We'll cut
guest.
that out.
Jay Crash in the Car is a legitimate movie reviewer, musician, and artist that's second to none for sure. We like to mess around because his opinion definitely matters. And I want Jay Crash in the Car to just kind of sit back. And I want him to chime in when he feels necessary.
Yeah.
But I want to get mano a mano with my partner here and dive a little deeper into this movie thing since we got Jay Crash here. Let me get your top 5 films that you think influenced you in this world.
I mean,
And Jay
Ooh,
Crash, I want
wanna
you
hear this.
I want you
This
to
is
I want
great.
you to sit back. I want you to soak it in,
I
and then
will.
we'll talk about it.
yeah.
Excellent.
I'll just spit out the movies. I mean, I have a few that circulate in my brain, but I really did think about this question because I knew I'd be sitting down with
Yeah,
someone who
you
has
knew
way
something
more.
like this was going to come up.
Well,
for
I
sure.
mean, it's like asking a musician like what influenced you. If you're an aspiring musician, right? I think to an extent, like I'm an aspiring like movie connoisseur. All right, my top 5 movies: Event Horizon, Into the Wild, 28 Days Later, Fight Club, and then I have 6 actually. So The Last Starfighter and Back to the Future. Those all of those, just I don't know. They make me feel good. Right,
Yeah.
like that's anything that you appreciate makes
No-
you feel good inside.
Nobody's
I'm not the
top
same person.
5. Nobody's top 5 at anything is wrong. That's their top
Oh, I
5,
thought you were about to
and
talk
no
shit.
one could take that away from them. Like that's beautiful. Whatever your top 5 is your top 5.
Well, yeah, and then I
Period.
think you
End
have
of
to
story.
hear what they like about it. and
100%.
And to that point, that's why my new list of my top 200 films of all time is the 2019 edition.
Well-
that
well-
doesn't mean I can't
Okay,
change
okay,
that.
that's a great point. But
Yeah.
before I get to my top 5, so let's say you started this in 2015. I mean, 200 movies, that's a lot of movies. Do you think in 2015 your top 200 would be different than your 2019 top 200?
Well, of course,
Absolutely.
because there's movies you haven't
Well, other
seen
than
in
other
that
than the
time
new
frame.
movies, but
Fucking idiot.
okay, let me rephrase that. Do you think your top 200 in 2015 would be different than your top 200 in 2012?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yes.
just because of your growth as a human being
Sure.
and as a person, and that
Some
kind of
movies
stuff.
like some movies I come back to that I really really liked, and I watch them again, and I'm like, gosh, why did I like that so much?
Yeah.
It's not as relevant to me at that time.
It's like Dazed and Confused or The Stoned Age. Although that Stoned Age is a fucking
That's a
funny
great mo-
ass movie.
so is
I
Dazed
don't
and
want no
Confused.
chick with zits. I want
Yeah.
fine
Yeah.
chicks.
Yeah. So
that movie.
let me
Yeah.
get to my top 5.
Yeah.
Real quick.
Let's hear it.
And your top 5 was great.
But
it
I'm
was
sure
great. I
anything in
loved
your
it.
top 5.
I mean,
This is
because
awesome, guys.
I can appreciate your top 5
I know.
because
I didn't say Point Break, and actually, now that I think about it, I know it's going to be in yours.
of
so
course
go
it
for
is.
it.
Come on, man.
Fuck, I forgot. I'm
so-
adding 7
okay,
to
so-
mine.
so
Okay,
it breaks
that's fine.
in
That's
there.
fine. 7.
So number 5 has got to be Animal House.
I didn't do mine in sequential order. I just spit them
Yeah,
out.
no, me
randomly.
neither.
Okay.
I'm just doing it so I I could take a number. Animal House.
Animal House.
I got Revenge of the Nerds. I got Major League. I got Point Break. And my all-time favorite movie is River Runs Through It.
Oh shit! I thought you were gonna
Wow.
say Young Guns.
No, River Runs Through It, man. That movie touches me for some
Why?
reason
Why?
because of
Very
the
good film.
brotherhood.
Dude.
Very
Oh.
good.
Yeah, and what happens to
I
him,
like
the
the film
family
a lot.
environment.
Yeah.
and it just touches on friendship.
Tom Skerritt's the dad.
Yes, he is. Yeah,
Awesome.
Brad Pitt.
Brad
a lot
Pitt.
Of, I mean, that's
who was
probably,
the other brother?
the other dude was the guy that was in Some Kind of Wonderful.
Brendan
Yes.
Fraser.
No. It was he was in Some Kind of Wonderful in a movie called Fire with Fire.
I
or
should
something.
know this. I should know this.
He was also in another like
I'm
horror
drawing a
movie.
blank.
I forget. Here.
Brad Pitt. I mean, that was probably for me Brad Pitt's best.
Robert
role.
Redford.
A lot of people say that.
Yeah.
A lot of people say that Legends of the Fall was kind of Brad Pitt's real good.
Yeah.
But if you really look at A River Runs Through It,
Yeah.
Oh, Craig Schaefer was the guy.
Craig Schaefer. That's
that was
right.
in A River
There we
Runs
go.
Through It.
There we
That
go.
movie, I mean, I don't know if
clarification.
that's in your top 200
that
or
was-
not,
that-
but it is unbelievable. And it's an unforgotten movie. And
it
that's
is.
another reason why I like it.
Right.
Because it's small town Montana, but it touches on big America.
Helena, Montana is where this.
But he goes to Chicago, chicken
Yeah.
in the car won't go. That's how you spell Chicago. Like, it touches on America. And
It does.
It just, I don't know, it touched me. But
Hey,
if you-
so you're giving your top 5, right? I think you should spit your top 5 out and then.
Well, I was just saying
Have
real
him comment
quick.
on
I
one.
said Robert Redford, and the
Yes.
reason I did is because he directed that film.
He did direct
Yeah.
that film.
Yeah.
Yes. So you heard our top 5, each of us.
yeah, we were all like off camera talking about Event Horizon
Yeah.
and that one.
I don't know. I think you could tell a lot about a person by their top 5 movies. Obviously, I'm real spoofy and like
party.
just kind of
Get,
party
have
and
fun, yeah.
like
I'm
we
ex-
said,
I'm
I
ex-
think
I'm
Pat's the time.
existential.
I mean, forgive me for the psychological
no,
analysis.
that's what we want. That's kind of what you do with movies,
Yeah,
right?
But I think Pat's, and we all do this, and I think Justin, your list shares many of these qualities that I'm going to talk about here.
Should have put 2001 on there. Fuck.
Well, but I just
Forgot something
Well,
good.
five-
I can't
fives-
see the top 5 that I had when I
a
actually
top 5
put it down.
takes. I mean, a real top 5.
This isn't a real
takes-
top 5.
yeah.
This is a
Mine took me about 13 seconds because I just
There you
thought
go.
of it.
But those
see,
are
but
the
that just
movies
goes to
that
show
come
the-
to mind.
They
for
do.
you.
They are.
Yeah.
And a river runs through it. It's
Yeah.
gonna probably touch the top 2 or 3 or 1
It's a great
every
film.
single time.
It is a very good film. I don't have that on my top 200 list. It's actually,
Are you reconsidering at this point?
you know what? I have a whole other list after the top 200.
The other top 200?
That's like 100 more films
Yeah.
that are in the cut, and I'm going to tell you that
That's
I
kinda
had
cool.
Hey, Pat.
I had A River Runs Through It on my
Yeah.
list for a
Yeah.
while. I bumped it.
Well, both of
Hey,
all.
Pat, is Brokeback
yes.
Mountain on your top?
It is.
Fucking
Well,
back
it's
100.
it's on my other top 5 that I'm going to talk about later. But both you and Justin have brothers, right? I have a brother, and that's why A River Runs Through It.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of touches me deep. Like, I really kind of feel like in my brother relationship that I'm the Paulie, I'm the Brad Pitt character that
Right.
ends up dying. What do we say? I'm here for a good time, not a long time, and that's kind of how I live my life. My brother's definitely the professor type. He's a scientist. So like that movie kind of really is just you know what I mean? He's the one that fell in love first and got married first, and I'm the one that was like, I'm never gonna leave, as he says, Montana or whatever.
Right.
And so it does. Touches me.
Yeah.
You know?
It's a very good film.
I just feel like having a brother is just another layer of existence, kind of like being a grown adult and having a child. Like you know this whole other realm and world that other people will never understand, and it's the love for your brother or your sister. It's one you would die for.
There's no other love than a sibling. Period. In a story,
Yeah,
that's
no.
it. Like my brother is my everything, 100%. So is my sister,
funny.
by the way.
Yeah,
you
but
know.
there's also this element to A River Runs Through It that plays in, and we talk about how great films have a primary, a secondary, and a tertiary level.
That's your 3 levels.
Yeah, absolutely, and
Okay.
I do believe that A River Runs Through It has those levels. I mean, we're talking about it right now, and I'm almost just wish I would have had it on my list because I'm thinking about it more. But it's a movie that the fly fishing, which is the symbolic bond that the father has between the two sons,
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's a symbol, and that fly fishing, when they just go out there, they just lose themselves. And I believe, if I haven't seen the film for a few years, but I believe there's like a narration or something that describes
it's
the
clock
isolation.
method, tick tock.
And it describes how when you're fly fishing, you're just in this zone, which is a symbolic representation of that Zen that just comes from the natural order. And there's a competitiveness between the two sons and the father.
Correct.
And so now you're taking the symbolic level that you're operating on. Now you're moving into this other zone. And the beauty and the quality of the depth of the film breaks into that other level when it takes on those philosophical,
like
existential discussions about at what point there's one son who's doing all the right things.
Yep.
He's marrying young. He's pleasing the father, who's
pleasing the Lord.
Yes, and it's archetypes. So the father represents the archetypal father that everyone has, and it represents God, right? Because there's this next level. And so it's really a story, when you look at it, it's a story about the fall of man, okay? And how man turns against God, right? So you have the story of the rogue angel, right? Who could be described as Lucifer,
Satan.
right? Yeah. So you have the symbolic quality to the film that is telling an old story, but it's doing it with these new archetypes, and it's subliminally telling us this story. And so, yes, and talking about that, it's a great film. It really is.
That's cool. Yeah, even if you've already seen it, you'll probably want to go watch it again. I know I do.
Absolutely.
There's a part in the film where the brother Norm just got accepted to be a professor at the University of Chicago. Mm-hmm. And he walks in, and his dad was reading scriptures, and he walks in, and he starts reading scripture. Like, the dad was reading out loud, and then the brother follows through, and then the dad follows, and then the brother follows, and then the dad follows. And to me, that's just such a pure, exciting moment in a film. And then I think the next scene after that was Norm goes and tells his girl, hey, I want you to go to Chicago, blah, blah, blah. She says yes. And then he goes to his brother, who's at a bar, and they sit down. And he says, I'm in love, brother. And they do Boilermakers, and they just have a great night after that.
But see, what you're also seeing by using the archetypal characters of the two brothers, you're seeing a Cain and an Abel. In this particular instance, Cain didn't kill Abel. But you're seeing this
competition.
You're seeing this competition and this dynamic, which is held up. But what you're seeing is the duality of man between the two archetypal characters. So you're seeing the one moral, upright, righteous man who is living within the eyes of God, the Father, and then you're seeing this other archetype that is like, fuck that, I'm going to Chicago,
rebellious.
I'm gambling, I'm taking up a debt, I'm doing this and that, I'm rebelling against God.
And
it's the duality of man represented in a film.
For sure. And
that's the tertiary level we're talking about.
You know what's funny is the parents, and even in this film, it shows that the parents want to be more proud of the kid that is at the bar getting drunk, but he's the new writer for the Helena Sun or whatever, and he's met Calvin Coolidge, the president. This kind of they want to be more proud of him.
And that's the social achievement.
You think more proud? I mean,
I don't know about more proud, but they want to be.
That's the social achievement
aspect
of it.
Correct.
And so we're talking about a film here. We're already discussing this film with multiple layers.
Yes, we are.
Probably great. I mean, if I could
redo
redo my list right now, I'd probably have it on there just based on this discussion.
The whole
here.
duality is just something that we've just come to know once we came into existence with night and day.
Right.
So there is a balance, because the balance is at the 12 spot. Boom, boom,
Well, and
boom.
what is Star Wars? You know, everybody gets on Star Wars. So you have Luke Skywalker. So
Luke, I am your father.
yes, but you have Dark Vader. What you have is basically what you're talking about,
Yeah.
a battle between light and darkness.
Right.
In
It's-
the way that the sun moves.
It's a tale as old as time itself. Like
Yes,
there-
it is.
in the Egyptian stories and religions, it's
Yes.
the battle between Set and Horus, I believe. Right? It's night and day.
Absolutely
and they, like,
impressive that you know this
Like
material.
at
Yes.
one point, like it's always a fight. One always wins, and then the other always wins. And then one wins, and then the other wins, but
Yeah.
it never ends.
Right.
And it's really interesting to see, because so much of like religion and anything written that we have access to in all of history has this duality in some way, shape, or form.
Yes.
And you can easily discredit a lot of religions doing that, but I don't want to do that. But if you really want to put it down on paper, you can
Yeah.
make the correlation that there's a lot of similarities between a lot of the ideologies, and where
Absolutely.
they're I'm going down the religious path pretty fast.
but when you the
it's
whole
just-
thing
it's
is
part of the,
is
I was
is
going
it,
to the duality thing,
but it is religion in so many ways,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
and we may not even, you could consider yourself an atheist or separate from any sort of religious doctrine.
But that's your religion.
Yeah,
Is
but at
not
the same
having a
time,
religion.
well, that's true. Your point is definitely true. But where I'm going with it is that you can take that stance, yet at the same time, through your socialization, you don't understand that so much of even your whole concept of what you believe is still based in those fundamental ideas.
You've just been conditioned from
Yeah,
birth
and you
to-
might
to
reject,
follow 'em.
I reject these ideas, but it doesn't mean that you've
Craft your life around them.
yeah, you haven't strayed that far from those cultural.
No, I mean, you followed social norms to an extent.
Yes,
I have.
of course.
Most people do. It's the ones that don't are the ones that were like the microscope hits those people. Why haven't you had kids and got married? And it's like, I don't know. Maybe they like to sleep and
Right.
save all their money. Who knows?
Yeah.
There could be a myriad of reasons why people choose not to do the same thing.
Well, and a lot of that's projection on the
Yeah.
part of those people that wish they wouldn't have done that.
110%.
Once they do that, they're like, well, I may as well just like,
yeah, why can't you have the misery with me?
right, yeah, yeah.
Why do you get
misery
to
loves
sleep in-
company
Yeah,
kind
I
of
know.
thing.
Misery loves company, man. That's some wild stuff. Hey, Justin, you were talking about Into the Wild is one of your big five, and I want to get Jcrashinthecar's opinion on that movie. I'm sure you would agree with that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I would love to hear his take. I mean, just the way that J. Crash can break it down and recognize all the different layers of the film.
It's been pretty bitching, man. Having
Yeah.
him in here has been pretty insightful, and let's continue
Well,
this party.
That
man.
movie resonates with me in such a weird way that maybe some people don't even want to admit, and it's this like whole like fantasy of doing what the character and the person the movie was adapted from did, which is just say no to everything that was expected of him, and just he burned the last of his money and then just went about his way in the desert.
I have not read the book, and I know
But
that
you've
a
seen
lot
the
of
film.
I
You've
have
seen
seen
the
the
film.
film.
Yeah, we're
I've
talking
seen
about
the film.
movies.
I've seen the film a few times.
I think the film's
Yeah.
a good adaptation of John Krakauer's book.
Well, if we were talking top 5 books, we would have said top 5 books. But we're talking top 5 movies. So let's dive into the movie. Who cares about the book? Really, I don't.
Well, I think it's a great movie, and we talked about A River Runs Through It, and we talked about the duality of man, and we talked about these philosophical layers that come into different films, and Into the Wild is the kind of film that comes right in your face with its philosophical views.
Yeah, I mean totally, because the guy
it
goes,
hits you right away with that.
The guy goes, he renames himself. He goes
Yeah.
from Christopher McCandless to Alexander Supertramp. So he completely sheds the old persona that he had to
Right.
once embody to sort of placate his family and society in some
Yes.
sense.
let's
and then
let's
he moves into this whole other realm where he felt free as ever, but at the end of the day realized that like the true connection or the true aspect of life is like sharing love with another person.
But this is a true
Right.
story, right? So
Yeah,
this
it
isn't
is.
this
Taken
isn't
after
fiction.
it.
This is let's go get it. This is somebody's life.
Well, and this is one of the things that I respect about the film, is that it looked at his life in a way that showed his philosophical obsession with adhering to a certain type of life.
social norm.
Yes, and going against, you said he shed his birth name and
It was like
became known
necessary
as
for him.
Alexander Supertramp, right?
Yeah.
So it is that symbolic metamorphosis, that butterfly effect
Right.
that you go into from the cocoon and into breaking into the next level. But let's not forget that although he did break into the next level and he met many people on his journey, then he ultimately went off on his own.
Yeah.
Into the Alaskan wilderness or wherever it was he went. I believe that was the Alaskan
it was.
outback.
It was, but I think I liked it because it kind of spoke to like the whole adventurous side to some people and their whole like desire to explore that aspect of life to get sort of visceral.
Of course,
Right.
and it is a very visceral film. I'm jumping ahead, but when he eats the berries when he dies,
Oh right, yeah.
it's the type of visceral experience that you actually you feel like your stomach's dying too.
Yeah.
When you watch it, you feel like you're dying with him.
Yeah, it's intense.
It is.
But
And he's like, "Oh my God, what did I do?"
and then he
What did I
realized
do?
how alone he was.
Yeah, exactly. Though we want to buck this society with which we are constrained by, we want to buck this, we want to move on, and we want to liberate ourselves, and even to the point where we go out into the Alaskan wilderness and we start eating berries. And he found that bus, he found shelter, or whatever it is that he found, but that he ultimately was an ideological, what's the cliche of himself.
You're right.
You couldn't hang with the
No.
forces of nature.
Yeah, I mean, like just go get out and camp every other
it's,
weekend
it's
like
like
normal
it's
people.
okay. I don't know if you guys have seen the film Network,
No,
but I'm gonna
no.
highly recommend it to you
like
now.
Social network.
It's called Network.
Just
Okay,
network.
this is before the Social Network, yada yada yada. This is Faye Dunaway. This is
Okay.
William Holden, Ned Beatty in a classic performance. Peter Finch. This is a great film about.
Is it on your top 200?
Yes,
Yeah,
it's
from
in the top 10.
1976.
Top
I'm
10?
leaking. It's in my top 10.
Wow.
Network.
Wow.
You've got to
Okay.
see it. And there's among many in this film, there are diatribes that the main characters go on, where they go on these diatribes, and they're just like, they're talking about society and everything. It's so relevant today, and it's all about media.
Because it's a local, it's a television
Yeah,
network.
it's television network. It's all about media, how they're trying to like
Manipulate
thought and all this stuff, and it's more relevant than ever. But
Huh.
one of the big speeches in the film is Ned Beatty, and he says to the character, he says, "You are meddling with the forces of nature, Mr. Beale, and we will not tolerate it." you know, and that's what this guy did. He meddled with the forces of nature, and he thought he was bigger than himself. So I don't think I think a lot of people tag on to the revolt.
Yeah.
But I think the fundamental underlying principle of the film was saying that like the revolt was empty. He didn't even have the skills to survive in nature, and he paid the price for his idealism.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you focus so much on this idealistic way, that idealism takes you down and ends your ability to be a human being.
It consumes you and it becomes you, and you lose sight of everything else.
Exactly. And that's what he did.
Yeah.
And he's fucking dead.
Well, probably number 6 on my list would be like a Grease, right? Like
I love Grease.
Yeah, Grease is
I mean,
Who doesn't love
Like,
Grease? Yeah.
people would be shocked what my favorite movies are. They would be
Yeah.
like, holy shit,
I like-
what this
I
guy
like,
does in his
urban-
private life is fucking beyond what I would think he
Yeah.
would do.
Right,
Were you
yeah,
gonna say
yeah.
Urban
I
Cowboy,
was gonna say
please?
Urban Cowboy.
That's one of my
I-
favorites.
because
I
that
like
movie-
Urban Cowboy
that
a lot.
movie, it has the most awesome like rise into the pinnacle, and then
Yeah.
it descends and
How
back
can
into
you
a
not
little bit of
love
valley, but
Urban
then it
Cowboy?
shoots up way beyond where it was when you thought it was the climax. Is when when he
Okay.
fucking beats the dude up and he gets the
Yeah.
chick.
Let me ask you
But-
this.
But
dude.
we're talking about skateboarding and true teenage kind of flicks. Have you ever seen Bully?
Bully. Bully?
Bully.
No.
I have seen it. It's
I've seen the
fucking
preview.
awesome
Larry
movie.
Clark film.
It was intense, dude.
Okay. This is a 10. You've got to see
Dude,
Bully.
You're saying
so
it's a
fucking
10 out of a
crazy
10?
You said that. I watched that movie and I was just, I couldn't get enough. Like I stayed up till 2 a.m. watching it.
Yeah,
I
it's
couldn't sleep. I woke up. I turned it on. And I
Bully.
was just-
Bully.
directed by Larry Clark.
Can I find it on Netflix?
Probably
Justin,
for
can
free.
I find it on Netflix?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's on all
Yeah,
of them.
I
watched
think-
it
I think
on
I saw it
watched
on
either
Netflix.
Hulu, Amazon,
So
or Netflix.
Bully.
Yeah, Bully,
But
and
it-
it's Larry Clark, and he is the same director,
It's got Brad Renfro in it.
Brad Renfro,
Yeah.
who is a great young actor who died.
Yeah.
What did he die of?
Overdose.
Of
yeah.
what?
Yeah, heroin. Like very similar to River Phoenix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you dig the movie. It's
It's
interesting.
it's a powerful film.
I'm gonna watch it.
Now Larry
it's like just
powerful
teenagers out
film.
of control.
just insane.
Yeah.
The way Larry Clark and he shoots the shots right up the fucking chicks' dresses.
Yeah.
The exploitation of it, but the mockery of the exploitation while he's exploitating, it's on another level.
I mean, spoiler alert, but like when the
It's
dude
brutal.
gets
It's
murdered,
brutal.
when the dude gets murdered, I like started to look into this. I started to look into the story,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought the dude who made the film really had a good representation of it because
He's a master.
so J Crash, I'm kind of I don't. Do you like horror movies, Patty?
I like horrors plenty.
Okay,
trust
so
me.
J Crash,
I do like
you,
horror
Do you
films.
have? I don't
Oh,
know.
we're talking like horror, like
So-
HORRERR.
Yeah.
I'm talking WHR. You know,
not horror.
love horror films.
We'll get to
man.
that, but what
Okay.
about horror?
Oh,
so do you
horror.
have any horror
J
movies?
Crash comes into
I
our
had- I
podcast
had-
and ruins my whole fucking deal. I wanted to talk about horrors. He's talking about horror.
Well, this is the film critic, dude. I want his.
Well,
I
fair
value
enough.
his opinion.
You don't
on
value
film
my opinion on horror films?
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah, I do.
I am an
trust me,
expert.
I do value
Holy
all
shit.
your opinions in that department.
Well, let's hear about the
But,
horror films.
Yeah.
So horror.
Yes.
So do you have any that stick out in your mind that were something that you saw when you were young, or
Yes.
something that resonated with
When
you
you
on like
say
an
horror to
existential
me,
level?
Yes, I do. And when
Like
you
apocalyptic type of stuff
Ooh,
is the stuff I'm thinking.
apocalyptic.
But,
Apocalyptic. I like The Road.
Oh, I've seen that.
Viggo Mortensen.
Yes, with the boy.
amazing.
That's super
when
intense.
we were talking about underground bunkers earlier.
yeah.
Off-site, just laughing about some of that stuff. But that scene where they stumble upon
Yes, and they have to go in
the
there.
bunker and they haven't eaten food
Oh, and they find
so
they,
long.
they find all that stuff.
and they just look at each other and they're just eating the food. And
Yeah, I
it's-
really-
and it's so amazing.
yeah, I really connected with it at some point, and then
It's brilliant.
so the end. I mean, I don't know. Do you give it away, or do you throw it out there and let people discover like the
I let them
goodness of
discover
the
it
end? Yeah.
because the film is about the human condition.
yes,
Yeah. And when you're deprived of such the basic elements that we take for granted in today's society, when they juxtapose those things against the lack of those things,
right.
and then they stumbled across it in that scene.
And then you begin to see what's really
It's
important.
yeah.
Yeah.
And they cherished and just eating like canned beans.
Yeah, that you're right. You're exactly
It
right.
was amazing, dude.
I stumbled across that movie
Yeah.
and
I love The Road.
died.
Hey,
It looked
so
awesome.
hey, so let me interrupt because I
Yeah.
want to
Yeah,
get
go
I
ahead.
want to get going on some shit here.
Oh, you're-
Let's jump right into some would you rather's with our guests because that's what we're about, man.
All right.
Like let's not get away from what
I
we're,
feel like when we
I
move
feel
into
like
the
too
would you-
artsy fartsy right now. Like I've
Okay. No, we're not.
dove deep.
We're
like,
giving people, listen, artsy fartsy or not,
It's
get
your
on the shit.
perspective.
If you love life, you're gonna love the shit we've talked
And-
about
and-
today, and
Absolutely.
look into it.
And it'll
and
enlighten
will.
you.
We've mentioned a lot of great films today. We've talked about a lot of great shit.
That's right.
Good
Some
And,
good
and
music.
check it out.
and- yeah.
Expand your view.
And here's the deal, man. Like
that's the best knowledge you could bestow.
if people know me and know this cast and know my partner Justin and our cast, we're here for a good time, not a long time. We've said that multiple times. We love life, and we're going to jump right into some would you rathers, baby.
Okay.
All right, man. Hey, you ready?
Yeah,
All right,
I'm
so,
ready.
So the would you rather's are directed to the guest.
Oh, of course,
Yeah.
man. I'll get you. I
Okay,
got a couple
here
for
we
you
go.
But
too,
I'll
Justin.
throw
But,
in- I'll throw in a
but
couple.
yeah. Let's hammer this guy for a minute here.
Would I rather?
Yeah. Would you rather?
Or it's just it's a this or that.
Or this or
It-
that?
yeah,
Okay.
It's the yin or the yang.
Yeah, that's
Got
it.
Got it.
It is what it is.
Okay.
Blink 182 or Bad Religion?
I don't think there's any question. Bad Religion. I mean, it's not taking anything away from the Blink guys. We talked about them earlier, and it's
Okay.
cool. But I mean, Bad Religion, man, they're on a whole other level, intellectually, structurally.
There's more substance behind.
Absolutely.
Let me tell you
Yeah,
why you're
Bad
punk
Religion.
rock.
Yeah.
Let me tell you why you're punk rock.
Okay.
Because if you asked me that, I would say Blink 182. Here's the simple reason. Blink 182 are multi millionaires.
So
Bad
getting,
Religion.
So getting rich is punk
They're
rock?
not.
Were
Let's
you
get
doing-
back
yeah.
to some
Were you
would you
doing
rather, baby.
Yeah, well, how
Let's
did we
go.
get off that? Okay,
I don't
would
know.
you rather?
Okay.
Oh, you did some music.
Yeah.
You needed a band, and then
Yeah.
we just went on
So
a tangent.
how about this?
thought I wanted
Metallica or Tom Petty?
Wow.
That is a wow, baby.
Wow.
He comes
We
up-
don't bring them light.
You come up with the most. I think when Pat comes up with these, it's just how you feel on that day. You either pick one or the other because they're both awesome. I
They're
like both.
unbelievable. Both are unbelievable.
I don't like.
It is what it is, Justin.
Triggered. Why do I have to pick?
You have to
I
pick
don't
in this show.
identify, oh.
That's how we do it on this show.
Which one's the most intersectional? I'll pick that one.
I love
Yeah.
Metallica.
Yes, but I'm asking you about Tom Petty
but,
as well.
But if you put them up against Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers,
Yeah.
I mean, I got to go with Tom Petty.
Perfect.
I mean, I love.
Okay. All right. Let's go to another. Would you rather? Animal House or Revenge of the Nerds?
It's easy for me.
I got to go with Animal House.
Yeah, I do
Personally.
too. Yeah.
Revenge
Because
of the Nerds.
I
dude.
mean, I like John Belushi, and I think if you look at the people that follow John Belushi, Chris Farley was
Yeah.
one of them.
Yeah.
He was
Artie Lang.
He was
the funny fat guy.
Yeah, funny fat guy. You look at Blues Brothers. You look at everything that John Belushi did, and that was one of his breakthroughs. And not only it's a frat film that. And while I know Justin probably wants Revenge of the Nerds there, I would say that you wouldn't have a Revenge of the Nerds if you didn't have an Animal House.
I agree with you 100%.
And so there you go.
Yeah.
100%. I
Well,
agree with
I
you
love both
100%.
films.
Yeah.
but,
If that's the criteria by which you base the
That's
you know,
how
the
that's how
hierarchy,
I
then
would
yes.
rationalize it.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
The only reason why I would hold Revenge of the Nerds at the top is because that's the movie for me as a child. It's the first time where I saw like Bush pan down. So
Yeah.
it really
That's
resonates with me.
influential.
So I
Yeah.
saw that movie first, and then
Kind of
shit. I want Bush pan down.
Yeah, yeah. And
Pan
that's-
down.
and that's
We've
awesome.
got Bush.
But if you think about kind of, there's a creepy element to Animal House. And I know with all the SJW shit that our society's under right now
You mean
and
that's
everything.
that's polluting it?
Well, but you look at Animal House now. There's a a scene in there where he has a drunk chick.
Oh, and he has a devil and an angel on his
and the
shoulder.
devil's just like, she's passed out.
Yeah,
she's
just-
drunk.
Just fuck her.
And at that time, it was acceptable. I'm not saying I believe in this or I don't believe.
Well, no,
I'm
but- and
pointing out.
green with the angel side of that dichotomy.
This is why historical viewing of films is so important.
Well, that's why films is beautiful.
Yes.
Right, because you can see this stuff, and you can understand sort of like maybe where the older generation, not all those Animal House people have kicked the bucket yet.
No.
You know,
But at the end of the,
chick's
day,
passed
he makes
out.
the right decision.
He does,
He makes the right decision.
but it was there for him, and
was-
Animal House had the balls to actually. I don't know if it was a social message there
broach
with
the
Animal
subject,
House,
yeah.
but they did it. You wouldn't have
my
Fast
shoulder.
Times at Ridgemont High without that film.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
You wouldn't. You wouldn't have any of those spoof
I love
or
the part where
teenage
the
films.
dude comes in like 2 seconds.
Yeah,
Every dude
and he
can
makes her
sympathize
pregnant.
with that.
He makes her pregnant at the same
that's
time.
Gnarly.
That's what
Yeah.
he's saying is you don't have that without Animal House. It was so cutting edge. Like it was in the newspapers. It was in every radio station. It was on the news.
Hated
It was
Animal House.
that. It was so taboo.
So I'm just spitting out Western films that are kind of mainstream.
Here
oh
we
yeah,
go.
great.
So
I love westerns.
these are very mainstream, very popular. Young Guns or Tombstone. Because I'll say personally, both films hold like a special place in my heart.
Okay.
And I don't know if I could pick one over the other.
Okay, I think Tombstone is a more mature film. It's
Oh, I agree.
but I mean, it's a more mature film. It's more subtle. Young Guns is a visceral film.
Yeah.
So I gotta pick Young Guns actually.
That a baby.
Yeah.
Let me
Because
give,
they're rebelling. They're going against the
Oh,
system,
and the
against law.
peyote scene, I love it.
Yeah, where they- yeah.
Oh, the spirit
We're
world.
in the spirit
let,
world.
let me,
Chavez, what's going on?
let me give him one real quick. Patrick Swayze or Keanu Reeves?
Oh, Patrick Swayze.
Okay, just ask.
Any day. Yeah.
How about this? Carmen Electric or Pam Anderson? Just flat out. Let's go.
I think they're both skanks.
But you
Sorry,
gotta
I
pick
would-
one.
Nah, one?
Oh, I got a couple.
I
got
would
a couple.
pick Pamela back in her
Over Carmen Electra?
Hold on.
Holy
Hold
fuck.
on. Pamela back in her early
Yeah.
This is what
Playboy
this is how I
pictorials
do it. I go
is
back into the
very
honest
natural, and I would
Yeah.
take that Pamela
Okay.
over anything.
Okay, Pamela Anderson or Jenny McCarthy?
I would never want Jim Carrey slap.
Yeah, I'm with you so much.
But you want Tommy Lee's sloppy seconds?
I want neither of them to.
You're choosing.
You put me in a
You
corner.
just chose Tommy
I
Lee's.
chose out of not a lot.
Oh, dude. Okay, I have one.
Yeah.
Let me think of the other person, but Tawny Katane is one of them. Yeah.
I know
Tawny
who Tawny
Katane
Katane is,
from the
yes.
movie Bachelor Party. That movie's awesome because there's a part where a donkey snorts 2 lines of coke and fucking goes crazy. But it shows like a real horse face like snorting lines, and then it flips out. But okay, so Tawny Katane from that movie, or Brooke Shields from Blue Lagoon.
Oh,
Brooke
that's a
Shields.
good one.
Brooke
Yeah,
Shields.
yeah.
Really?
Are you fucking kidding me?
Dude.
Hey, no,
Are you
you're
telling me
fucking
you
top.
would not take the little angel, deflowered angel, on the island?
yes, I would.
On the island,
I would, but
over
it's-
some. Who's Tawny Katane? She took the white snake.
Jcrashinthecar, let's go, baby. Let's hear a song.
Well, I got something I think for you guys today.
Sweet.
And
Let's do
I
it,
want
man.
to play it for you.
Yeah, let's do it.
And it's going to be, we're talking about punk rock, and I touched a little bit on outlaw country
Yeah.
that I love. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to give you a song that's a little bit of my own spin on it. I hope you look up Merle Haggard because he's a great country artist.
I love Merle Haggard,
Yeah,
man.
I'm going to give you a little Merle Haggard song here.
Nice.
Here we go.
Here we go, Jcrashinthecar.
First thing I remember knowing was a lonesome whistle blowing and a youngin's dream of growing up to ride on a freight train leaving town, not knowing where I'm bound. No one could change my mind. Mama tried. A one and only rebel child from a family meek and mild. My mama seemed to know what lay in store. Despite all my Sunday learning, toward the bad I kept on turning till mama couldn't hold me anymore. I turned 21 in prison, doing life without parole. No one could steer me right. Mama tried, mama tried, mama tried to raise me better, but her pleading I denied. That leaves only me to blame, 'cause mama tried. Dear old daddy, rest his soul, left my mom a heavy load. She tried so very hard to fill his shoes, working hours without rest, wanting me to have the best. She tried to raise me right, I refused. I turned 21 in prison, doing life without parole. No one could steer me right. Mama tried, mama tried, mama tried to raise me better, but her pleading I denied. That leaves only me to blame, 'cause mama tried. That leaves only me to blame, 'cause mama tried.
Jcrashinthecar, baby. That's it. What's up? That was episode 7. Gotta go, people. Love you.
See ya!
Yep.
That was tight, dude.